Check, check, check. What a week. Good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And what a show we have in store for you today. Not only will we be talking about Kamala Harris's speech last night in the DNC in general, we also have guests from Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and that's Elmira Little Theater. Putting that on tonight is opening night, so we're going to talk with them. And in the 7 o'clock hour, fan favorite, because it's Phil Friday, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. We're going to ask him what he thought about the DNC as well. But most importantly, it's about what you thought of the DNC. Were you as disappointed as every American, apparently, if you watched any news this morning, which is Beyonce was a no-show yesterday, somewhat in the evening. I remember going to some of the websites I check, and it was Beyonce's confirmed. She's going to be there. Beyonce's going to perform, exclamation marks. And I don't know, was it a ruse to get people to tune in right till the end to watch the speech? There could be, if you want to be conspiratorial. There could be a point there because Beyonce did not show. But I want to hear from you. Listen, the whole celebrity thing doesn't impress me, but I'm the outlier. It seems as if, actually, I would say, well, a little bit of news I watched this morning getting ready for work, the news story was more Beyonce didn't show than it was what Harris had to say. But again, that was just a quick little snippet that I was watching this morning. So what were your thoughts? First, this comment I received yesterday after the program, and I thought it was a very good point. And it was actually, I just missed reading it on the program because it was right before we went to our end break. This is what a viewer had to say. Well, I'm tired of hearing my wife complain about the high prices at the market. And please forgive me for having my air conditioning on last month when they tell me the elderly need to stay inside when it's hot outside. Do you think it'll get better with a Democratic agenda? I've worked my butt off all my life not to be poor, but I think that's what Harris and Walz want to do to control us. Thank you very much. We have other comments coming in that we'll be getting to. One thing I want to mention, because we will be talking to Phil, obviously, about state issues. We will talk a little bit about the DNC. As well. But if you watch the DNC, I don't want you to say, well, Frank's talking with Phil, he won't mention it. Any comments that we get at the end, I'm going to try to read or maybe sprinkle them in throughout the interview to just kind of reiterate what you thought of last night's DNC. The anti-Israel agitators were there to protest Harris's nomination. They said the Democrats are funding a genocide. One protester over a bullhorn said, as they officially nominate Killer Kamala as the head of the stake, we are out here to say that nothing they say or do in this convention will wash the blood of Palestinian men, women, and children off their hands. Some screaming into the bullhorn, long live the Antifada, So that was a trend throughout the whole week, though not reported on as much as maybe originally thought. They didn't want that narrative. Of course, there's a lot of concern yesterday, and this seems to have died down in the media as well, that they did not allow the uncommitted group to speak at the convention, and AOC was standing with the uncommitted saying it is wrong. They should have their voices heard, but not much more said about that. Jill Stein was there the whole week as well, out in the protests. Jill Stein, if you're not familiar, she's the Green Party candidate for president. She said on Thursday that Democrats, quote, absolutely cheat and change the rules to maintain their grip on power. She was responding to a quote from Michelle Obama's speech, where she said, we don't cheat others to get ahead. We don't get to change the rules, so we always win. Stein said, stop the gaslighting. Right now, the Democrats are trying to sue us off multiple state ballots, hiring spies and infiltrators to sabotage us, and even withholding public funds we qualified for months ago. Democrats absolutely cheat and change the rules to maintain their grip on power. Jill Stein making some waves this week. Well, if you go to the right outlets. Now, again, we're going quick this morning, so buckle in. I warned you yesterday right from the jump. We're going to cover as much as we possibly can. Again, the big story, and not something I would typically talk about, but worth mentioning, the outrage by many in the public that probably didn't want to turn in and watch the DNC, or tune in to watch the DNC last night, but they heard Beyonce was going to perform. And it was from reputable sources. I mean, it was coming from everywhere. One person from MSNBC, and I'll get to it later. I don't remember their name, saying specifically, I heard that Beyonce is now on the grounds. She's here. I have sources that said she has just arrived. But one of the quote unquote celebrities was the Chicks. Now, you may remember them as the Dixie Chicks, but they distanced themselves from Dixie because of the implications. So now they're called the Chicks. In the past, they were controversial when they went on foreign soil and said that they were ashamed of George W. Bush when he was in office. So no surprise that they would be performing at the DNC, but they were ripped for their awful, quote unquote, awful Star Spangled Banner performance at the DNC. I will fully admit that I missed it. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Star Spangled Banner rendition by the Chicks. One Twitter user said, the Chicks butchered the national anthem. It was terrible. That was just terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible rendition. Another Twitter user saying, the big act was the Chicks, who managed to mangle the national anthem with an embarrassing off-key rendition. It was that awful rendition of the national anthem by the Chicks. Was that the big surprise of the night? The washed-up Dixie Chicks? You think they would have learned to stay out of politics, said another social media commentator. So that was kind of, we're just going through the beginning stages of this, setting the scene for what happened last night. It is being reported that Beyonce was never scheduled to perform at the DNC. That's what her representative said. Now, originally, yes, so you may have seen the reporting. If you're like me, just randomly check a couple of trusted news sources throughout the day. And TMZ, which is not a source that I check, but others had cited, TMZ said, as you'd expect, Beyonce's appearance is a huge deal, not only for Harris and the party, but in Chicago as well. We told Chicago PD is on high alert as it's involved in security for Beyonce at the United Center Arena. We don't know what she'll be performing, but the smart money is on Freedom, must be one of her big songs, and it's been the Harris Walls campaign anthem. There have been rumors all week that either Beyonce or Taylor Swift would show up in Chicago before the DNC ended. In fact, there are dozens of delegates in the arena tonight dressed in Cowboy Carter-styled outfits, just in case Beyonce were to come through. Then, a few hours later, this coming from the Hollywood Reporter. A representative for Beyonce says the singer will not attend the 2024 Democratic National Convention. Beyonce was never scheduled to be there, the Hollywood Reporter stated. The report of a performance is untrue. So many outraged. And I don't want to talk any more about this, but there is political implications to this. And what I mean is, They said that so many people could be persuaded, specifically Generation Z, if she were to perform or to endorse. Same with Taylor Swift. And they said that they could swing a lot of Gen Z voters to vote either for or against because of that endorsement. So a lot of people, because Beyonce is very popular, a lot of people tuning in to watch the DNC just to see her performance. So imagine when you feel slighted and angry at that, and potentially angry at the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, for perhaps perpetrating that lie. You may feel betrayed, and maybe justifiably so. So that does have political implications where people could be outraged enough to tune out, to not vote, because that's sadly the state of celebrity in this country. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but I do find it very, very interesting. And I will admit, when I first saw that it was reported that she was going to perform, I said, uh-oh, that's going to be the whole story. It's going to be how historic it was. So to have her be a no-show, kind of fascinating. Now, some of the performers throughout the week, Jason Isbell, Mickey Guyton, Patti LaBelle, Common, John Legend. So they had performer Stevie Wonder, of course. They had performers, but not the one they dreamt of. Some Twitter users saying, hearing that Beyonce has arrived at the United Center. That's what MSNBC's Katie Fang exclaimed hours before the giant letdown. Hearing a lot of, but where is Beyonce? As people left the DNC, said one conservative blogger, Katie Pavlik. There's another crowd protesting and chanting, where is Beyonce? These are all from on the ground at DNC Twitter users. After watching the DNC and hearing Kamala Harris speak, my thoughts are, where was Beyonce? Democrats said Beyonce and or Taylor Swift would be at the DNC. Disappointing conclusion after being teased with promises of quality entertainment. #fail. Another user saying, boy, that was fast. They went from joy to the world to lying about Beyonce. But then again, lying is what they do. Another user, and this, I swear I'm almost done with this. You need to lie about Beyonce to get people to watch this, we'll say, garbage. A lot of people calling the DNC liars this morning. All right, we're going to get to the actual nitty-gritty, the actual politics, though I do believe that has political implications, though you may laugh at that. I would ask you to trust me on this one. The power of celebrity, sadly, when it comes to influencing voters. But let's take our first break because we got a lot to cover this morning. We're going to hear from Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street cast members from Elmira Little Theater a little bit later on, and then Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. So get your comments in. I'm going to read as many of the comments as I possibly can, and you can, of course, get questions in for Phil as well. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Hesselsen's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselsen's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs, deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselsen's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And yes, folks, the moment you've all been waiting for. Ken has sent in our official, frankly speaking, analyst, commentator. He made it. People have been wondering. He made it and has watched all 4 nights of the DNC for us. And we are, and this is a really bad media tactic, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I apologize. I'm going to try to keep you hooked. We're going to read Ken's comments a little bit later on. He has been the official commentator of the DNC this whole time, and we all look forward to hearing what he has to say. So you're going to have to stay with us a little bit longer. And yes, I'm sorry, but that's Media 101. Thank you, Ken. Thanks for helping me keep people hooked. We are going to read it. The takeaways. Yes, CNN has their takeaways. So many other outlets have their takeaways. But I can proudly say we have had the best takeaways this whole week on Frankly Speaking. But I do have some other comments to get to. One viewer said that watched the J.D. Vance movie on Netflix last night. Very moving. I have heard that. I have not watched Hillbilly Elegy. Excuse me. I actually, one of my coworkers got me the book, and I plan on reading that. It's just been obviously a busy couple weeks. So I'm going to start with the book and then watch the Netflix movie. So thank you for that. Another comment from a different viewer. Watched most of the DNC last night in search of some of the, quote, joy that they always talk about. My search for joy, futile in my view, kind of like Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster. Yes, always hoping that one extra documentary you watch will finally have the Bigfoot, the Loch Ness. So I understand what you're saying. I found her speech flat, off-putting, repetitive, void of any policy, just Trump bashing and twisted statements, in my opinion, that were flat out lies. I'm glad it's over. That's my joy. I've got to agree. It'd be nice to catch up on some sleep, and I'm sure Ken feels the same way. We'll have Ken's comments in just a moment. I thought you might like this from Douglas Murray before we get into kind of the nitty-gritty of yesterday. And I would ask you, and I know Ken weighed in on it, Adam Kissinger, what do you think of him? What is it about? Let's take a step before I get to this Douglas Murray article. What is it about Republicans that they're so good at being turncoats? I was trying to think this morning because I had someone text me that who trust me, does not like Trump or and is very much now a Harris supporter. And they said, I think Adam Kissinger did a good job on the speech, and that's fine. Of course you would. I mean, if you don't like Trump. But I was trying to think, what Democrat can you point to that became a star because they turned on their party? I think the only one you could say that was effective in it and actually got some attention, though mostly negative attention, was Tulsi Gabbard. And I don't know if she's still technically registered Democrat or maybe it's independent. I don't think she's a full-blooded Republican by any means. But Tulsi Gabbard does a great job. She actually, if you want to go back to debates with Kamala Harris had one good debate. We got regular friends walking by. If you go back to the debate back in 2019, and Kamala, as you know how primaries work, you're trying to get 1 point from this person, 1 point from this person, and just keep building momentum. And she had that huge line, Kamala Harris, where she called her now boss, the current president of the United States, a bigot. And she became a star overnight. And she took some points from people, and she never realized that in the next debate, there'd be people gunning for her because they wanted the points that she just gained. So she thought she was riding that momentum. If she only knew, she just had to wait it out and could just be handed the nomination. But anyway, she didn't realize that people were going to be going after her. And Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her in that debate. Now, the media, though, in that scenario, does not praise Tulsi Gabbard. They do not prop her up and interview her as much as possible, as they do with Republicans when they turn on their party. They actually tried to destroy Tulsi Gabbard. So if you want to make money, you want to be popular, because maybe you were never popular in your life. If you want to be on the CNNs and the MSNBCs, etc., all it takes is for you to be a Republican, have no spine, have no true core beliefs, and turn on your party and badmouth your party, i.e. Chris Christie, and you will get that attention. And that's exactly what Adam Kissinger did. Now, why did I go into all that? Because I was trying to think this morning. Tulsi Gabbard is the only example that I can think of that got even a little bit of attention. Can you think of somebody? But we could name, I mean, really, if you want to go through and name the Republicans who turned on them, on other Republicans, I don't think we have time in this show. Romney, McCain, and McCain learned the hard way that just because you badmouth your own party the whole time, the media is still going to turn on you when you get that nomination. But we can continue. Chris Christie, as I mentioned, Liz Cheney. The list goes on. And they are, any one of them at any moment could be given a prime interview spot on one of the news programs. Because as long as you're a Republican, the quote unquote Republican, the badmouths Republicans, you will always be praised by the media until you get too much power. So we are going to read Ken's takeaways from last night in just a moment. Let me take this break. We're going to go to Douglas Murray's article, then a break probably, and then we'll read Ken's comments. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning, New York is a local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. From service and repair to new installations. Trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
The tradition, the atmosphere, the pageantry, and the passion. It's Big Noon Saturday. Drew Eller and Penn State take on West Virginia.
Watch out!
It's Big Noon Saturday, only on Fox.
And we are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're going to get to Ken's takeaways. He's been with us all week, telling us what his thoughts on the DNC, and he made it through night 4. So thank you, Ken. We're going to get to those in just a moment. And yes, I am being a jerk and keeping you hooked. Douglas Murray looked at the week of the Democratic National Convention, and he presents it in a Oscars format. He said, with a host of A-list celebrities and B-list politicians, it felt almost like the Oscars. So here we go. Best Actress, Nancy Pelosi. There really was no competition in this category. Nancy Pelosi gave the performance of a lifetime, reading every one of her lines without cracking. We will not soon forget the way in which she said that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had, quote, established one of the most successful presidencies of modern times, and then put such emotion into her voice while talking about infrastructure on rural broadband. But the standout moment was her tribute to Joe Biden. Only a few weeks ago, Pelosi went to see Joe and brutally ended his career, reportedly telling him that he must either stop his run or get pushed out, quote, the hard way. This week was always going to be a mountain for Nancy to climb, but she managed it. Her performance was second to none as she paid tribute to the man whose career she so recently ended. She emoted, she praised, she licked her lips, and during Biden's own performance, she could be seen enthusiastically waving a "We Love Joe" banner. It takes an actor of once-in-a-generation skill to do what Nancy did. Then Best Supporting Actress, Hillary Clinton, the former First Lady, is a master at the supporting role, so it was inevitable that there would be artistry in her performance, and so it proved. Who could fail to be impressed when she talked about the glass ceiling that she and Kamala had done so much to crack? Or the way in which she held a smile even as she said that Kamala should be the first woman to make it to the Oval Office. Some viewers may have got the feeling that Hillary was about to grab a bigger trophy and burst out screaming, "It should have been mine," at any moment, but she didn't. She kept herself measured and turned in a performance of rare, multi-layered complexity, underscored by a raw rage. Best Actor, Bill Clinton, the boy from Arkansas, took the stage for half an hour to remind people of the good old days, by which we mean the days of George Washington. Without bursting out laughing once, Bill Clinton compared Joe Biden to George Washington and said that, like Washington, Biden had exited the stage at a time of his own choosing. Historians are still looking for the Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, and George Clooney characters of 1797. Best Supporting Actor, Cardinal Kupik. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name right. Kupik deserves a mention for his hilarious performance as a Catholic cardinal. Leading a prayer on stage, he praised the idea of Americans being united by profound aspirations of life. The cardinal had clearly not toured the abortion and vasectomy trucks, which were doing big business outside the convention, nor the huge 20-foot inflatable IUD that was also hovering around. Then you have Lifetime Achievement Award, Oprah Winfrey. Though she has long been promised to attend, this was Oprah Winfrey's first time at the ceremony, so she deserves this Lifetime Achievement Award, not least for her inspiring claim that she understood because she had suffered from income inequality. She only forgot to say which side she had seen it from. Best Animated Feature, Joe Biden. It is amazing what modern animation can achieve. Way past his normal bedtime of 4 p.m., a character amazingly resembling Joe Biden took the stage. He managed a whole speech, whipped himself up into a rage over things that nobody said, and wiped a tear from his face as he accepted the gratitude of a party that wanted him gone. There was reported to be a sequel to his animation in the works, but word is that the studio pulled the plug after a poor performance at the box office. Best Picture, Teresa Warman. The folks behind the camera often fail to get the recognition they deserve, so hats off to the cameraman and editor for their cutaway to Teresa Warman on Wednesday. Have you heard about this, by the way? You got to feel for this Teresa Warman. I'm not sure who she is. She's a delegate from Maryland. But as a speech was going on, it was an Oprah speech. And Oprah says something like a shout out to all the childless. I'm kind of laughing thinking about this video because I watched it yesterday. to all those childless cat ladies. And for some, I'm going to start giggling. For some reason, the camera cuts over to this poor lady just sitting there trying to have fun at the DNC. Watch the video. It's worth it. I mean, I feel bad for her. Woman soon became aware that she had chosen as the face of childless Catwoman everywhere. But she had already nailed it and given the nation this year's Best Picture. Can't get it out of my head. Anyway, enough about that. Oh, special effects. Sometimes it takes a whole team, says Douglas Murray. And the award for Best Special Effects has to go to none other than Kamala Harris and her team of advisors. In a matter of weeks, they've managed to turn a hopeless candidate into a frontrunner. The first special effect was the claim that the crazy Kamala laugh was not embarrassing, but was in fact brat, whatever that is. That was a thing going on. Then we learned that all the word salads and wine mom mannerisms were in fact joy. Finally, we are being told that someone who has been vice president for the past 4 years was both in charge and not in charge. Knows what to do but hasn't done it so far, and can both claim credit for the economy and yet insist that it needs fixing. In the process, the Democrats have managed to create a whole new candidate. Not the Kamala we thought we knew, but a new special Kamala, who we apparently don't know at all. A Kamala who is hyper-competent, super inspiring, and a fresh face in politics. It rivals Avatar, The Matrix, and Star Wars as one of the greatest special effects achievements of all time and deserves the top prize. There we go. I just thought that was a unique way of looking at it and recapping the whole week. When we come back, as promised, we are going to hear from Ken, who has been our, I'm going to still say correspondent. I like that term, even though he's not on the ground, but correspondent because he has watched with Steel Reserve, not the alcohol drink, well, maybe, the whole 4 days of the DNC, and he has recapped it for us each day, and we will have his final look back at night 4 of the DNC when we come back. Stay with us. Also, we have guests from Elmira Little Theater coming up, and of course, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. I'm going to stop trying to giggle here over that picture in my mind of that. You got to look it up, folks. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Stock up for summer and save at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines. Svedka Vodka, normally $20.99, is on sale for $18.99. Save up to $24 on a case with mail-in rebate. Your final cost, $12.99 per bottle. 1.5-liter Woodbridge wine, regularly $11.99, is on sale for $9.99. Save with a rebate of up to $24 on a case. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines and Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
Introduce brand new kitchen appliance that does all the work for you. A hassle-free solution that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it in one pot that you can set, then forget about, and come back to delicious, perfectly prepared meals that cook up to 60% faster without having to do a thing, except enjoy a little extra free time. From the trusted brand Power Excel, there's the StirMax Multi-Cooker, the revolutionary new countertop appliance with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your favorite ingredients and walking away. No more stirring food. StirMax is the one-pot solution that does everything for you. The secret is the unique pot shape and groundbreaking StirMax technology that's automatically programmed to rotate the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise to help prevent jams and food from burning while infusing flavor. Powerful enough to even shred food. With large 7.5 quart capacity and lightweight, attractive design, the entire pan goes right to the table. StirMax features 9 different cooking functions: saute, slow cook, cook stews or soups, keep warm, steam and boil, cook risotto or rice. Plus, the multi-step smart presets, StirMax or BraiseMax, that sears and sautés food before automatically switching to simmer. With premium ceramic coating that's BPA, PFOA, and PTFE-free, scratch-proof, and won't ever stick. Then the entire pan goes right into the dishwasher. Now, you can try the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with tempered glass lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. But it gets even better. You also get the entire bonus package absolutely free. You get the steamer and rice basket. For fresh, healthy meals, the StirMax serving spoon and ladle. It snaps right on top of your StirMax, plus $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order next business day, absolutely free. Plus, every Sturmax comes with a 1-year ironclad VIP protection plan and a 90-day money-back guarantee. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. We're having a blast this morning. I'm so glad that you joined us as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Coming up in just a moment, we will hear from Elmira Little Theater, because tonight they open Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street at the Clemens Center. So we're going to hear from Ellis Williams, who plays Sweeney, and Heather Haskins, who plays Miss Lovett. So that's coming up in a little bit. And, of course, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. So it's only fair that we get to Ken's takeaways, and I've kept you hanging long enough. But before that, a couple comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. I forced myself to watch Kamala last night. Absolutely nothing substantive in her speech. No policies were discussed. Nothing of value for the American voter. Truly sad to see Adam Kissinger attack Trump and his performance while claiming conservative values is abhorrent. While he claims, meaning Adam Kissinger claims conservative values, it's abhorrent. Yeah, but aren't you used to it? I hate to say that. I'm not knocking what you're saying at all, but aren't we, like, Republicans, listen, Democrats are fine with not being able to vote, knowing that the system is always rigged and that the elites get to pick because they're used to it. I mean, go back to Bernie. Now we see this year Harris getting the nomination without ever receiving a single vote. The man who spoke day one received the votes, and he is not running for re-election because he was pushed out. They must be used to it. Republicans, I think you just got to get used to the fact that the turncoats are going to get the most attention, get that national stage. As I said, we could spend the whole show. The easy ones are, Romney, Chris Christie, Adam Kissinger, Liz Cheney. We can go on and on throughout history, McCain. It's kind of, sadly, what Republicans do. And I don't know if it's because they want to be liked by the quote-unquote cool kids because they weren't popular. I don't know if it's because they want that speaking spot at the DNC. Keep in mind with Adam Kissinger, by the way, the Democrats redistrict his district, and it cost him his job, that and his bashing of Trump, it cost him his job, and that there he is stooping and bowing to the Democrats and endorsing Kamala Harris. But thank you for that point. Okay, and here, Ken, as we get ready to read Ken's takeaways, we have a question for Ken this morning from a viewer. My question to Ken would be, after watching so much of the rally, or of the DNC, does he feel dirty? That's a fair question. After watching so much, all 4 days, do you feel dirty? Maybe he needs an emergency trip to a Trump rally. All right, here we go. Ken's takeaways. Ken has been kind enough to be our pundit here on Frankly Speaking and staying up each night to watch the DNC. Here we go. I made it through night 4 of the DNC. I'm still a little shaky from the no-dose and caffeine. This has been a long week for you, Ken. I think my wife left me and the cat is attacking an effigy of the Orange Man. When thinking about if it was worth it, I keep going back to the fact that at 70 years old, I wasted the last 4 days and will never get them back. That's a good point. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, it was more of the same. Demonize Trump and the Republicans, praise Kamala and the Democrats. One of the biggest arrows in the Dems' quiver is the fact that if you say a lie enough times, it will eventually become the truth to people that aren't critical thinkers. Absolutely. Also, they have the media to amplify and echo, and we can't take the importance of that away. But here we go. Elizabeth Warren did her job to keep up the Democrats' dishonest talking points. I wonder how much money she made as a professor at Harvard by lying about her Indian heritage, and what actual ethnicity didn't get hired because she lied. Amazing point. I see that she broke down and cried as well. I mean, that is a huge point. You're exactly right. It's not just the fact that she cheated the system. It's about who suffered because she cheated the system. Great point. Al Sharpton did what he does best. Lied about Trump, like the fine people on both sides lie. Everything he preaches about is racially charged. I wonder if anyone is ever going to take him to task for still not paying his taxes. And that has been a common refrain about him not paying his taxes for how long, Ken? I mean, as long as I've been in this business. And it's true. Anyway, I don't just mean in TV and media. Next up, the gun violence stories were incredibly heart-wrenching. I agree with common sense gun control, but not outlawing commonly used guns, lying about them being weapons of war, government confiscation, or red flag laws that don't have penalties for the accusers if they knowingly make a wrongful accusation. And I wonder why they won't consider hardening our schools. Exactly. Next up, Leon Panetta should be ashamed of himself for the lies he told about Trump and saying Trump didn't respect our troops. Trump never checked his watch when receiving our fallen troops back on American soil, exactly just like Joe Biden did after the disastrous and heartbreaking Afghanistan withdrawal that, as we mentioned yesterday on the program, really was the beginning of Ukraine, Russia going into Ukraine, Hamas attacking Israel, the weakness that we are showing across the world, Russia, China, Iran, realizing they now have a power and making moves. So yes, very good point. Next up, and if you're just joining us, this is Ken's Takeaways. Gretchen Whitmer parroted the rest of the Democrat lies. Did you see that CNN, I don't know if it was on other outlets, but I see that the CNN feed went dark for 2 minutes of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's speech. As someone has stated, someone's getting fired. Yes, that 2 minutes. Why did it black out? Went to MSNBC to watch instead, said one commentator. Yeah, not good for CNN. Continuing with what Ken had to say. Adam Kissinger, one of the biggest Republican turncoats, took great pleasure in demonizing Trump and the Republicans while praising Kamala and the Democrats. If the Republicans don't chastise him for his actions, they deserve to lose elections and not being able to govern one in the majority. Yeah, Adam Kissinger has been, listen, there's always going to be Republicans like it. It's frustrating. But keep in mind, he backed Kamala after Democrats redrew his district, costing him his job, ending his career. But yeah, he'll be on MSNBC and CNN. He'll get that attention. Next up, this is what Ken had to say about Kamala. Kamala was effectively able to condense all the lies about Trump that we heard over the past 4 days into one 50-minute speech that she read very well. She was compassionate, stern, concerned, and angry at all the right times, depending on the text she was reading. She stated multiple times that we need to go forward and not backwards, apparently ignoring the wonderful things the Biden-Harris administration had done in the past 3.5 years. Yeah, exactly. Going back to what Scott Jennings said. Democrats have had control of the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. So what's this not going back? I mean, she has been there 3.5 years, and that's exactly what Trump said in his post on it. Why haven't you done these things then? If you have all the answers, why have you been sitting on it for 3.5 years? Continuing with what Ken had to say, I couldn't help but think during her speech that she is a self-confirmed liar. When she was asked why she would work for the man she called a racist, she laughed and said it was a debate, which obviously meant that she was willing to lie about anything to get her desired results. Well, maybe she wasn't lying. I know she said it was a debate, but maybe she does think he's a bigot. Why would her tactics be any different during her run for the presidency now? Right. Ever-changing, doing quote-unquote U-turns when it's convenient. Couldn't agree more. One indisputable fact is that Kamala is making history, not for being the first Indian black woman to run for president, but for being a candidate for the presidency without earning one vote from her constituents. Yeah, that's what I mean. I know Hillary talked about breaking the glass ceiling, but is that the way you want to do it, with kind of essentially an asterisk, where she was never supported by the Democrat voters to get that nomination? I don't know. I think that's a fair question. I pose that to anybody that's watching, Democrat or Republican, man or woman. Doesn't it seem weird? It is history making, but doesn't it seem weird that it's always going to have that asterisk by her name, that she did not actually earn the nomination? She was just given the nomination. Continuing again with what Ken had to say, because I'm running late. Kamala comes with a lot of radical baggage, and Walz is using his words weird. I still think there's another surprise waiting in the Democrats' wings. I wonder why one of the most liberal and charismatic darlings of the Democrat Party was not put on stage to recant Kamala's virtues. Gavin Newsom. Yeah, Gavin Newsom. Interesting. He can't be happy how this all went down, but I think he's a good soldier. He'll probably play along. Ken, a big gratitude from me and from all the viewers for staying up the last 4 days and watching this and being our analyst for the DNC. We appreciate it, so thank you very much. We've got other comments coming in, but we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Experience the difference at Blaze Alexander Family Dealership. For over 40 years, Blaze Alexander has been Central PA's top choice for unbeatable prices. With 20 locations and 11 brands, we have what you want at a price you deserve. Over 4,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available. Why go anywhere else? Stop and shop or check us out online at blazealexander.com. Sales, service, parts, collision.
Now there's a product that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it for you. Introducing the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your ingredients and walking away and coming back to meals that cook up to 60% faster. No more stirring food. StirMax technology automatically rotates the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise, so it stirs it for you. Powerful enough to even shred food. Then the 7.5 quart pot goes right to the table to serve. With a premium ceramic coating, nothing sticks. And it's dishwasher safe. Now you can try the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. You also get the steamer and rice basket for healthy meals, StirMax serving spoon that snaps in place for easy serving, and $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order all absolutely free. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order now.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program. And we are being joined by some of the cast of Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Thanks so much for being on the show this morning.
Thanks for having us.
This is opening night. Are you nervous?
Not yet.
No? Are you ready?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Anxious, want to get in front of an audience.
Yes, can't wait. How long have you guys been preparing?
We auditioned back in May, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been rehearsing ever since then. Yeah.
What's a typical, how many times do you practice a week? I know something like this takes a lot of dedication, right?
It does. It does. Juggling summer schedules because everybody's doing everything all the time. We try to get together 3 to 4 times a week until we get closer to show, and then we'll book it up to every night.
Do you ever get bored of the play that you're doing?
Not this one.
No. Did you plan that?
No.
That's what I find kind of fascinating, because it seems like anything else, if you watch a TV show or something over and over again, the same one, you're going to get kind of bored. But you have to know the characters you're playing, right?
It's a really great... Anytime you do a show, you get a really great experience of creating and finding like yourself within a character. And then just, it's like when you're 3 or 4 years old and you play house and you decide to be like this whole different person than who you are. It's just so much fun. How
do you specifically get into character? Like when you open tonight, how do you go from who you are sitting here right now to the character you're playing, which is Sweeney and Miss Lovett?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, you don't know yet.
It doesn't, well, no, for me, I tend to feel it a little more when I get into the setting of the stage.
Okay.
When I get into that stage setting, then I feel as though I can, maybe depending on my line delivery, maybe there'll be a little chill or a little something where I'm really trying to put myself into Sweeney's mindset. And then from there, once I'm in, then I feel like, okay, let's go.
That kind of puts you in a dark place then, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh. Darker, darkest, still dark,
Yeah, this is a dark one.
Yeah.
It's great. It's like funny and there's bright spots, but there's definitely a lot of that darkness and dark humor, and it's so much fun.
That's where Heather's character really brings to life a lot of the humor.
Yeah. How do you get into the character?
Makeup, hair, costume, that's all a huge development part of it. But then it's as soon as you hear the music and you start to jump into it, it just happens.
So I've never thought that. How long does the hair and makeup and those type of things, when you're getting ready, how long does that take?
Depending on your character, it can take anywhere from 10 minutes to half an hour, 45 minutes. There's a lot of special effects makeup in this one. So we actually have some of the team from Sylvania that comes in to do some of our blood work and our things like that. Yeah, it's cool.
And you mentioned it is a dark play, but it also has moments of kind of lightness. Do you think that's what's made it so popular through the years? Because this is one that even someone like me that doesn't go to the theater that much knows a lot about Sweeney Todd.
I think so. I know within the theater community, Stephen Sondheim, who wrote the musical, is a huge inspiration for a lot of us. So it's kind of got that beautiful following of thespians and actors and singers. But because it's so popular, and there's the movie with Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, that it opened it up more to the masses. So it's really out there and available more than some other shows that are available.
And there's a good balance, I think. I think the way it's written, a lot of the dialogue, there are really some foreshadowing that if you're really, like, it's one of those things where you can go back and see it again. And like the more that I look at the lines and such, the more I can really appreciate even the little innuendos. And then there's such a nice balance between the really dark side and, believe it or not, the comedic side. So I think there's a lot of things that drive it to make it popular.
Now, you had mentioned the movie, which I guess I kind of forgot about the movie. Is that something that you watch in preparation or try to avoid in preparation?
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. And you'll find when you speak to different people how they prepare. Some people will refuse to watch anything.
Yeah.
Some people will watch everything that they can find to like steal little snippets of ideas. I kind of do both.
Okay.
Yeah,
I tend to...
I try to find, not to steal things, but to see, well, that's an interesting way of approaching, or, well, there's 180 degrees out from that approach. It's nice to just kind of see those different ideas that then try to put something together.
Now, how long, because you mentioned other places getting into character, how long have you been involved in acting, and also how long have you been involved with Elmira Little Theater?
Me first on that?
Yeah.
My very first one with Elmira Little Theater.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I relocated to this area last year. So prior to that, I don't know, 30 years worth of acting.
Okay.
So, so I've been doing it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
Okay.
I grew up with Elmira Little Theater. My mom was a big performer in the organization, and I grew up playing around the costume shop and things like that. So I've been involved ever since I can remember in Elmira Little Theater, and I've been just like rocking and rolling ever since.
And we've talked in the past with members of Elmira Little Theater, but if someone's interested in becoming involved, what's the best way to join Elmira Little Theater? Because I know it may not just be acting. There's so many other parts to this that go into a successful play.
Absolutely. You can always, if you want to be on stage, they're always having auditions. They are all over Facebook. When they post their auditions, they do that there, and they also do their website, elmiralittletheater.org. Okay. And you can also reach out to them through that website if you want to work backstage doing tech, if you want to do sound, lights, anything like that as well.
We're talking about Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Now, this kind of shows my ignorance on this. Is this considered a play, because I've been using the term play, or is it considered a musical? Or neither. I don't know how that works.
Well, some people have called it an operetta because there's so much of the dialogue that's sung.
So I wasn't even halfway.
I would consider it in more modern terms a musical.
Okay. Yeah. Is the music part difficult? Would you rather have a play that you're in where you don't have all this music?
I love the music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I love it. Yes, it is very difficult.
Okay.
This is one of the more difficult plays that I've ever been a part of. But I love a good musical.
Okay.
I love the challenge of it. This particular Sondheim has a lot of, I'll say from a musical perspective, dissonance in it, which at times can be difficult to, enact and send out there properly. But the challenge of that and the challenge of the different emotions throughout it, I just love it.
Yeah. It seems stressful to remember the lyrics, because think about when you're in your car and you're singing a song you think you know and you still screw it up. So right. So
every time.
So you have to.
Is he trying to put pressure on?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. But I'm just thinking, and while you're trying to remember the lyrics, you also have to act. That's so many more levels to it. I don't know. I didn't mean to make you stress. Okay.
No, you're not.
How many people are in the cast? Because I've seen pictures and there's quite a few people.
Yeah.
We have between 50 and 60 people in the cast on stage, and it ranges. The cool part is that it ranges from a 9-year-old up to folks in their 60s. So it's really, for the community show, we've encompassed a lot of the decades. It's really neat seeing all the generations up there.
Now, it's different because the 9-year-old's acting, obviously, but is this a play that you would maybe avoid with kids, or is it? I don't want to discourage people.
Yeah, we have it. It's rated on our marketing stuff as PG-13.
Okay.
And I think that's appropriate because there are some definite adult themes that you wouldn't want to explain to a 10-year-old.
Sure. Okay. Well, today is opening night. It's Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and that's at Clemens Center Powers Theater. You can find out more. We were talking about off the air. Where can you get tickets?
You can call the Clemens Center box office, and you can get tickets beforehand, or you can get them right at the door.
And what are the dates and times just before we go?
August 23, 24, and 25. There are 2 shows on Saturday the 24th, a 2 p.m. matinee, and then the one in the evening at 7:30, and the Sunday show is also a 2 p.m. show.
Okay, so just before we go, this is kind of a corny question I always ask. So Sunday's the last performance at 2 p.m. What does your Monday look like when it's all over?
Coffee.
Coffee? Just lots of coffee?
Coffee and
erase your
a whole
memory.
lot of not doing anything.
Yeah. Do you think you'll have the song stuck in your head for a long time after?
Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Forever.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So again, get tickets is going to be really big, of course, audience. And when you were saying you can get them at the door, but you would probably recommend getting them ahead of time, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Online is clemenscenter.org. I
Okay.
think is a good way to find it if you want to go online too.
All right. Well, enjoy. You worked hard for it. I hope everything goes smooth, and we'll talk next time. Elmira Little Theaters in town. In town, they're always in town, but when they want to come on the show, okay?
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you
so
so much.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Experience the difference at Blaze Alexander Family Dealership. For over 40 years, Blaze Alexander has been Central PA's top choice for unbeatable prices. With 20 locations and 11 brands, we have what you want at a price you deserve. Over 4,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available. Why go anywhere else? Stop and shop or check us out online at blazealexander.com. Sales, service, parts, collision.
Now there's a product that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it for you. Introducing the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your ingredients and walking away and coming back to meals that cook up to 60% faster. No more stirring food. StirMax technology automatically rotates the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise, so it stirs it for you. Powerful enough to even shred food. Then the 7.5 quart pot goes right to the table to serve. With a premium ceramic coating, nothing sticks. And it's dishwasher safe. Now you can try the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. You also get the steamer and rice basket for healthy meals, StirMax serving spoon that snaps in place for easy serving, and $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order all absolutely free. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order now.
And we are back. Thank you to our friends Alice Williams and Heather Haskins from Elmira Little Theater for being on the show this morning. Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, opens tonight at the Clemens Center. Thank you so much for being on the show. Oh, by the way, since we have just a moment, we're going to read some comments here. Good luck to all of those playing in the Sheriff's Golf Tournament today at the Bath Country Club. I know some of you signed up, so good luck. Hit them straight. All right, couple comments from viewers. I feel a little bit of Trump per day gives me my daily dose of joy. Thank you very much. Another comment. Good morning, Frank, and we're going to count that. Good morning. The DNC convention was a total waste of time. The Democrat Party is about endorsing communism. Thank you very much. Keep those comments coming in. As I mentioned, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be our guest in the next hour. So make sure that you get your questions in. But also, if you want to weigh in on the DNC, we will sprinkle them in throughout our time with Phil. So don't think that you have to stay quiet on what you saw last night. Feel free to weigh in. So Kamala Harris has accepted the Democrat nomination for president last night. She calls it a new way forward. I guess that new way forward is to never receive a vote and just be handed the nomination. It's kind of interesting. It is a new way forward. It's historic. Why not? Kind of makes it a lot easier, I would think. A lot of people on the street this morning. Taking the stage to a thunderous standing ovation. This is coming from the AP, by the way. As she closed out the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, the vice president argued that her personal story and background as a prosecutor made her uniquely qualified to protect America's interest against a former president she casts as only having his own interest in mind. So we had Ken's amazing takeaways all week. Let's see what CNN's takeaways were from yesterday. They had 8 takeaways. Number 1, Harris offers a return to pre-Trump normalcy. Wasn't that what Biden ran on too? We're not going back, Harris said. We're not going back, apparently, to the last 3.5 years. It's such a weird... I mean, again, we know the media is not going to scrutinize it. We know they're not going to go after her. So she can really say these things and not have any kind of implication to, with the media going after her is not going to affect her at all. So they're not, like Scott Jennings, I know I keep quoting it, but like he said, Democrats have been in control of the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. So when they talk about not going back or they're going to make these changes, where have they been for the last 3.5 years? Continuing, Harris gets personal. She told a personal story. Allies back up the Harris resume with some of the guest speakers. You got to meet the Harris clan, it says. Trump and many other Republicans for years have made a show out of mispronouncing Harris's first name. Harris's 2 young grandnieces went on stage to say how you pronounce it. Do they make a show out of it? I mean, I think there was just confusion from the beginning on how to say it. I mean, it's Kamala. I think most people say. Anyway, poignant moment from people affected by gun violence was a takeaway. The Central Park 5 members said that Trump wanted them dead. The Gaza war opponents were denied a speaking spot by the DNC. That's a takeaway. And finally, celebrities make their mark. Well, I mean, I guess you had Oprah. You had some others, but obviously Beyonce was a big takeaway. And not from CNN, but in my opinion, the outrage that she did not show up. Harris took aim at Trump as she vows to be president. And it is 7 o'clock, and I'm running extremely late. Hour number 2. Coming up after this, I apologize. We'll be right back.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
And we are back. It is our #2 of Frankly Speaking. We have Assemblyman Phil Palmisano coming up in just a little bit. I want to go through some of the media coverage because it is as predicted that it was a historic speech, it was a moving speech, et cetera, et cetera. The first black woman to claim a major party nomination on Thursday styled her unlikely journey to the Democratic nod as a springboard to lift the country to a new place after years of being torn apart by its bitter divides. Why has this not been happening since day one? Anyway, the vice president, who no one thought would be the candidate even 5 weeks ago, offered voters a clear choice in a steady and patriotic Democratic National Convention address in Chicago. This coming from Stephen Collinson. He quotes Adriana Sorsfire, the executive director of Black PAC, a black-led advocacy organization, explaining that Harris was offering a chance for, quote, America to become its best self after years of discord. What are our aspirations? Who do we believe ourselves to be? How do we understand that the highest ideals of this country in terms of a multiracial democracy? It's been 8 years of chaos, of destabilization, and Joe Biden becoming a transition point. It's been 8 years of chaos, of destabilization. Trump was in there for 4 years. I'm confused. And I think that what we're seeing right now is that people are saying we can be better than the worst version of ourselves. which they attribute to the Trump campaign and the Republican Party. Harris leaves her convention with an exuberant, united party behind her. Democrats are electrified by the metamorphosis of the ticket, backed by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who has become America's coach. Did you know? I didn't know this, and bear with me. This is just kind of one of those small political things. I found out yesterday that Walz in that championship team was a coach, but he was the assistant coach. Now, that might not mean anything to you. I didn't know that. That's not something they presented. Just like, kind of how there's been criticism of him misstating his rank in the National Guard. And I'm not saying he's misstating it. He's still a coach. But I didn't realize that he was an assistant coach. Take that for what it's worth. I'm just trying to give you some facts. Okay. More on the media coverage. David Axelrod was on CNN. And he said, the last point I wanted, Scott, to your point about Biden and the strategy of the Republicans, which I understand it to be a reasonable strategy, is to try and saddle her with some of the negatives that Biden has. It is really interesting how little she mentioned Joe Biden in this speech. In certain ways, this was her declaration of independence, and she became her own person in this speech. And I've told you before, we'll see how it turns out. I think you're going to have a hard time saddling her in the way that you guys are hopeful that you can. Yeah, because the media is not going to run with the fact that she's been even vice president for 3.5 years. That is going to almost be glanced over. So when she says stuff is going to happen on day one and she's going to fix this and fix that, they're not going to say, well, where has she been for the last 3.5 years? It's going to be, it's transformative. It's amazing. MSNBC's Nicole Wallace said Kamala disqualified Trump from ever being the commander-in-chief. The speech is so many things. I think there was some incorrect analysis out there that she somehow had to pass the commander-in-chief test. She is the sitting vice president. The Wall Street Journal reported on her, the vital role she had in helping the hostage release. Big efforts from the Biden-Harris administration. I think what she did tonight was disqualify Donald Trump from ever being the country's commander-in-chief. Next up, wow, Jake Tapper was just gushing. He said, Vice President Kamala Devi, is that how you say it? Harris, age 59. This is Jake Tapper, daughter of Oakland, accepting her party's nomination. It was a speech that 4 weeks and 5 days ago she was not preparing to make. But as she said, she is no stranger to unlikely journeys. She shared with us her origin story as a prosecutor, with her childhood friend, Wanda Kagan, who is here tonight, being molested by her stepfather. She talked about representing the people, Kamala Harris for the people. She discussed how she would be a president for everyone and wanting to perform an opportunity economy for the middle class. It was a speech of progressive politics and unifying rhetoric. A speech with many, many shots across the bow at Donald Trump, her opponent, and a speech in which she sought to portray herself as a credible commander-in-chief, patriotic, firm, confident, and credible. She discussed Israel and Palestine. She discussed Ukraine. She discussed the threat from Iran. It was a remarkable address, one that I've never seen her give quite like this before. A very, very powerful speech. You got to go back, I think, to Barack Obama in 2008 for a Democratic speech like this. Perhaps even a speech like this at all. I don't want to pat myself on the back here, but I was pretty close these last few days in how the coverage was going to be, wasn't I? They may have changed the wording a little bit, but I was pretty close. I was real close. But anyway, and you were too. You knew what was coming. It was going to be historic. It was going to be unifying. It was going to be a powerful speech, perhaps the most powerful speech ever given. It was the second coming of Barack Obama. We knew all of that. We've said it throughout the week. Go back to the tapes. So it comes as no surprise. Though it is interesting, Kristen Welker on NBC, had this to say. She said that Harris took immigration in Israel on head on. What was notable when she talked about her vision for the future, it sounds a lot like she plans to build on the Biden agenda. What this speech did was really fill in a lot of those blanks about her biography, growing up, being raised largely by her mom, painting a picture, again, that the theme of a strong mother as a figurehead that she had at the head of her table, who inspired her to become the person who she is. What inspired her to become a prosecutor. All those details getting filled in. And then when she talked about that she plans to do for the country, she talked about things like cutting taxes for the middle class. She talked about things like voting rights, things that really matter to Democrats. But again, we didn't hear a whole lot about how she would be different from a Biden administration. Interesting. Admitting what we all know. Now, Trump blasted Harris on Truth Social. He said she didn't mention China. She didn't mention fracking. She didn't mention energy. She didn't mention meaningfully Russia and Ukraine. She didn't mention the big subjects of the day that are destroying our country. There are 60 million people in poverty in the U.S. under her watch, and she doesn't even talk about them. She's talking about how great San Francisco was before she destroyed it. Probably not a good idea. No specific programs, all talk, no action. Why didn't she do it 3.5 years ago, Trump asked. During the speech, Trump referred to Harris as a radical Marxist and said she stands for incompetence and weakness while the country is being laughed at all over the world. Harris called Trump an unserious man in her speech and said the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious, and how he would use the immense power of the presidency of the United States not to improve your life, not to strengthen your national security, but only to serve the only client he has ever had, himself. So what were your thoughts of the DNC? As I said, I will be reading your comments throughout our interview with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who's coming up in just a little bit. I think we have all of our housekeeping in order here. Yes, we do. Oh, I did learn one thing. I know I've been promoting all week, and I'm going to be promoting up until September 8th for the Salvation Army, as they have that big barbecue fundraiser coming up on the 8th with Corning Catering. It's just $15. We have tickets here. You can get them at Brown Cigar Store. You can stop over at the Salvation Army. I really hope that you'll be a part of it. But I also learned, and I know a lot of people like this, that we have a new way. Look at that. Scan that with your phone right now, and you can order tickets online for the Salvation Army fundraiser. As I continue to say, they are in need, folks. That does not mean they're not doing all the good that they normally do. Of course they are. They're such an important part to our community. It's just becoming a struggle. So we're holding this big fundraiser. In full disclosure, I am the chairman of the advisory board. But please help out. And they tell me these QR codes are really popular. So there you go. Please purchase some tickets. All right, we got to take our first break of hour number 2. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us shortly. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. We'll be right back.
Hesselson's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs, deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselson's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It easily blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, soap, mildew, mold, and more. Forget harsh chemicals. With just plain water, Horsepower can clean bathroom tiles and tubs back to their original shine and luster. It's a game changer in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud. Take it outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. How strong is Horsepower? We took this distressed 100-year-old antique and restored it to like new with Horsepower. Amazing! Get your Ruby Horsepower scrubber today with bonus scouring sponge for just $39.99. Save on buying batteries. It's powered with the latest rechargeable technology. But wait, you'll also get this stainless steel brush to make range hoods and gas stoves look brand new again. Yours free. And we're not done. You'll get this Smart Flex cone brush that fits perfectly into corners, tiny crevices on toilets and tiles, or hard to reach shower door rails. Yours yours free. And to top it off, we'll include this microfiber cloth to clean delicate surfaces and polish cars sparkling clean. It's also free. Great news! Horsepower is now in stock and ready to ship. But due to high demand, there is a strict limit of 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-4241. That's 1-800-980-4241. Or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-4241 now.
We are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We've got some great comments coming in before we get to Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. First up, especially disturbing for me was all the talk that Donald Trump was all about himself. If he was, he wouldn't put himself through all the stress, get shot in the head, and all the other abuse that they throw at him. He'd still be enjoying his billions of dollars in his retired life. Good point. The other disturbing thing for me is Beyonce got more airtime than an attempted assassination of a former president. That is also a very good point. Beyonce getting a lot of coverage for not attending. The entire do as I say, not as I do stance of the Democrat Party is possibly the winner of the most disturbing thing to me. Thank you very much. Now, someone had asked Ken, who has been our official correspondent all week, staying up late to watch the convention so we would not have to. Someone asked after the week, does he feel dirty? This is what Ken responded to. To answer your viewer's question on if I feel dirty after watching the DNC, let's just say we are headed to the store shortly to get more soap. My water bill has skyrocketed in the last week, and my inpatient therapy is starting today at noon. But I have to say, being a political analyst for the fastest growing political commentary show in America, Frankly Speaking, was worth it. Well, very kind of you, Ken. Thank you so much. Now we go to our interview. Sorry, I had to read all those comments. Phil, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good to be with you.
So we've got a lot to cover, but first,
sure.
Obviously, we have to talk about the flooding because I know you've been very hands-on with this. And how heartbreaking.
It's devastating.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, I felt bad. Well, obviously, I was when it happened, I was actually out of state. We'd taken my mom down to North Carolina to see her sister who celebrated her 90th birthday.
Oh, wow.
My mom's 84, she's 90, so that was nice. But when it hit for the Friday, I mean, we were getting reports, and I started a text chain with the Senator O'Mara, his staff, my staff, Congressman Langworthy's office, Joe Giglio's office with Joe Sempolinski and those guys, just to make contact and say so we could start sharing some information. And the pictures and the videos I couldn't believe it. I mean, this just happened to that same location 3 years ago. With Fred. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's funny because I was working for Congressman Reed at the time, and I had the flashbacks to that exact, like you said, I remember you even then. We had text messages going on, everything, because it's just devastating for these communities, and to think that they're going through this. The Jasper school.
Oh yeah, I went through there. I when I got back into town after being down there for the weekend, I had Tim Marshall, our Steuben County Emergency Management Director. I reached out to him. He took me around, drove me around to the areas that were impacted. I mean, just to see the debris up against the bridges, roads that were totally collapsed. I saw power lines, telecommunications lines collapsed and submerged under our debris. I mean, it was just houses that were collapsed. Houses are no longer there in some places. And it's just, and I went through Jasper Troops First School again this time, just like I did 3 years ago. It was devastating.
And they're about to open up again after all that.
And I know FEMA wanted them to build and repair back on that same site. I don't know if that will happen now. And I think because they were trying to press, I know, to keep it off-site, to move it to a different location. And FEMA will say, no, you got to keep it here. I would hope, because they said you want to have repetitive incidences. Well, I hope this shows that it's repetitive and it's not really a good idea to build there. But it was devastating, and to see that, the heartbreak, and it's just, and of course, when I was in North Carolina, Congressman Langworthy, because we were talking, he wanted to do a tour of the place, and he went there. I know Senator O'Mara was there, Assemblyman Giglio, our staffs, other people were there, the emergency management director, all those people were there looking and talking and seeing sites. I got that call like Saturday afternoon that they were going to try to do that, so I connected them with like Jack Wheeler, Tim Marshall, Eric Rose from DPW, Commissioner of Public Works. And then probably around 8 o'clock at night, I got a call from my chief of staff saying that the governor was coming to town. And she did a press conference up in Cannon Steel. I couldn't be there. In the press conference, she wasn't there long. She was just in Cannon Steel. She didn't go to Jasper, Trusburg, or Woodhull, which was also devastated 3 years ago. And I think the thing that when I said to Tom O'Mara, I said, just remind her, and I didn't have to remind him, he knew.
He knew.
3 years ago, unfortunately, Governor Hochul turned her back on these communities by providing direct assistance grants, especially to homeowners or businesses. And there was a precedent for doing that. It happened, I remember in Yates County when it happened in 2013, Lieutenant Governor Duffy showed up and said, if you're an individual homeowner, $10,000, businesses, $25,000. There was flooding on Lake Ontario that devastating families and homeowners. You know, they provided grants of up to $50,000 for them. And then 3 years ago, nothing.
Nothing.
Well, what happened is we were pushing and pushing. They were trying to get FEMA assistance for those individual assistance. It didn't come through. We knew it wasn't because of the history of that program. Right. By the time they offered anything, it was 7 months later, and the program wasn't reimbursable to folks. So no one was going to benefit from that program. We were so furious. I couldn't.
I remember.
I was saying.
I know we've talked about it.
Yeah. So like we said to make sure we're telling the governor. 3 years ago, you turned your back. You need to come up. And I'll give her credit. She came here. We asked her to come 3 years ago. She didn't. I remember she went to a fundraiser here in the area, but she didn't go to those communities. But she did. And the fact that she was here, we appreciate it. Sent a positive message, a strong message that she was with us. Her words. She made a lot of promises. And that was a good thing because these people need help. These businesses need help.
Yeah.
But then what came from that is shortly thereafter, after she left, because she promised $50,000 up to homeowners. After she left, the press release went out and it said there was basically eligibility guidelines, and basically it was income up to $60,000. No one was going to benefit from that.
No.
An individual.
What?
If you got a family of four, it was like $80,000. I mean, if you have two school teachers or two people working, you're gonna exceed those income guidelines.
So your livelihood or your house or whatever is destroyed, and you're punished for making too much, which is a very low bar that they've set.
And I absolutely, and just to give you that comparison, we said this in Lake Ontario flooding. I mean, you have lake shore homes.
Yes.
There's no income limits, and then if it was your primary residence,
Yeah.
But if it was your secondary residence, you were eligible for assistance if you made up to $275,000.
What?
So
None
where
of
does
this
that make
makes
sense? And this, the southern part of Steuben County a lot of Steuben County is a challenged rural area. So, but to think that you shouldn't be at any income limit on it, period. And so we pressed. I mean, I know one of I think where the homeowner where the press conference was held, and I visited her. So her side of her house is totally collapsed in. Did a post. I did an interview when I was with Tim Marshall. The local media reached out to me, and I met them, and I talked about this issue. I brought up about 3 years ago, saying there should be no income limits on this. We need to move. No. And the word I used that kept coming to mind with this is inclusion. Inclusion. How often do we hear Kathy Hochul, Joe Biden talk about inclusion? But this policy that they put out with their press release, was exclusionary. It would have eliminated families. It would have eliminated individuals and group people who wouldn't have benefited from this much-needed grant program. So we put that out there. People, we were calling. I know Senator Mero was calling. We were making the case. Ultimately, they changed their mind a day or so later. They said they were reevaluating the income. And then they came up with this income of $157,000. Why that number? Certainly, $100,000. That's better than it was.
Yeah, but what a random number.
What a random number. Well, I think they made it to fit for certain people, which is they needed to raise that threshold.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, and Tom said this to them. I said there shouldn't be an income limit. Period.
No. Especially
when you look at Lake Ontario, there was no income limit if it was your primary residence.
Yeah.
And if it was your secondary residence, up to $275,000. Yeah. Why aren't we using $275,000? We've told people apply. If you don't get approved, let us know. We're gonna continue to make the case because these people can't have their back turned on them a time. This is two times in 3 years.
Yes, and there's something about it that I have an issue with when you give a press conference in front of a house, as she did, that was destroyed, and I don't know the specifics of that person, but technically they could be excluded from this.
Yes.
So you can use your destroyed home for the PR for the picture, and then you're out of this.
I'm 99% sure.
Yeah.
She was one of the people that made the post saying I'm going to be excluded from this.
Yeah.
And I think they panicked and all. We realized what they did.
It went viral.
It did, yeah. See, I'm not as big on social media as some people are.
People were talking about it a lot.
Well, it shouldn't have been any income limits. And that's why when I was with Tim Marshall going around, I got a call from the WYDC reporter, and he got a call at the same time. So we circled back. He gave update, and I talked about that this is a problem. This is something we're going to fight against, because it can't happen. So we're glad we raised the threshold. It was better than it was, but no one should be excluded from this. And I'm just concerned there are going to be families, because you could have 2 school teachers working who would be excluded from this program based on their income. I mean, you could have 2 manufacturing workers excluded from this program because of their income. If you have 2 people in a household or 3 people, whatever it might be, it's just not.
And when you talk about that kind of number for a second home, now I'm not knocking anybody that has a second home on the lake. That's great for them, but what about the person who's only home and they're, it doesn't make sense, and it's so wrong-headed to do it that way. I don't even understand why they would. From a PR standpoint, if nothing else.
I can't rationale the reason behind why they came out with this number, why they used this number, why it was part. And they said, well, that was just part of our press release. Well, yeah, it was your press release, not ours.
Yeah.
And she had the ability to change, and thank God she did.
Yeah.
But there should be no limit, period. But we'll see it. We'll track it and keep an eye on it. But beyond that, I just want to say thank you to the volunteers, the not-for-profit agencies, organizations, the United Way, all those the Red Cross, all those who have come in to provide assistance. I saw where one farmers took hay to another farmer's.
Yeah, wasn't that great? I saw that video.
I mean, it's just. That's our community. That's how resilient and strong our community is. I mean, we look out for each other. We look out for our neighbors in time of need, in time of disaster. That's what happened 3 years ago. That's what's happening now today. It's just nice that finally the state government is coming through and help to provide some direct assistance to those who are eligible and meet this income threshold. Again, it shouldn't be anybody, but we should be also, in my opinion, providing grants to businesses who are devastated by this.
I was going to ask, there's nothing?
Not the direct grant assistance as she proposed. We think that should be changed too, because that was provided before. Yeah. I mean, I think what they're going to, they're going through the federal disaster declaration. I think you need $37 million. Yeah. I think we're going to hit that in Steuben alone.
So. Yeah.
I mean, with the damage that doesn't even, when I talked to Tim Marshall at one point, they were like, after day one, like 20 million, and that didn't even include the school.
Yeah.
So I think we'll hopefully get to that, but you got to document it. You got to make sure you're showing what the losses are, so we can put that, and then we can help to repair the infrastructure. Because the FEMA money, well, what that comes in, they'll cover the local infrastructure costs at 75%. That's the other thing we got to push back on this, is make sure that the state is picking up the local share.
Yeah.
Because there will be a local share to this. So usually it's federal government 75%, then it's 25 split between the federal and local government. Yeah. The local government can't take this on, so we got to make sure that, and they did pick up the local share last time in the infrastructure. Where they turned their back was on the individual assistance. So hopefully we can get both of those addressed this year, and we should be doing the businesses. I think as it stands now, you might be having to look at SBA emergency loans. They don't need loans; they need grants.
Exactly.
And it's just mind blowing to me, and that's just one part of it. And the other part that kind of comes up along with this issue on the flooding. Is the debris removal.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I got to take a break, but I want to talk about that because I think that's something that's overlooked. But let me take a break so we can get really into it. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Enjoy a taste of the Finger Lakes at Hector Hideaway.
With a lunch and dinner menu, we serve a variety of delicious dishes made with locally sourced ingredients. Dine inside or out on the deck for gorgeous lake views, and pair your meal with a local wine, beer, or beverage. We're open until 9 p.m. Thursday through Monday, but the bar is open until midnight Fridays and Saturdays. Stay tuned for live music. Visit us today at Hector Hideaway.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere to fix that? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast, so strong, and so convenient. It's like putting the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires of your car on a single charge, or inflate a bag full of soccer balls at practice. Bullseye Pro is so advanced, it has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Plus, it can be 100% hands-free. You simply set the target pressure and walk away, keeping you out of harm's way. Bullseye Pro is lightweight, durable, and powerful enough to inflate this massive monster truck tire. Plus, it has 4 ultra-bright LED lights to safely inflate at night. Bullseye Pro comes with 3 custom air nozzles on board, so you can easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Forget driving to the gas station. Bullseye Pro is your anywhere, anytime inflation station. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system, all for the factory direct price of just $79.99. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. But to really inflate this offer, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. You get it all. An incredible value for one low price. Call or go online to order now.
To order, call 1-800-974-9753 or go to getbullseyepro.com. So call 1-800-974-9753. That's 1-800-974-9753 or order online at getbullseyepro.com. Order now.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. This is the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program, and we are being joined by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Thanks again for being on the show, Phil. We're talking about the flooding, and I've heard a lot of people not criticize, but what's happening with the Jasper School, that, think of the cost there, right? It's so much money. They were about to open. You feel heartbreaking for them that they can't open and these kids were going to have their school back. And a lot of it boils down to, why is this repeating itself? Why is nothing being done potentially year-round to make sure, or Army Corps of Engineers, whoever gets involved with this, to fix so that this doesn't keep happening?
Right, and this is a good question. I will say, after going through the Jasper Troopers for School for the second time in 3 years, I've seen the devastation. I know when they were talking about, and they had to deal with FEMA, they've been dealing with FEMA for years on this, and I was on call with them and FEMA at one point, just trying to make sure the connection was going. FEMA was insisting that they rebuild at that site, repair that building, and that's what they had to do. But one of the reasons they wouldn't look at a new location is because FEMA was saying, well, you haven't had repeat incidences. Well, they have now. So now hopefully they reevaluate this and let them go look at a different site. So there's things they could do and different sites they can look at that are not right behind the creek.
Right.
And you mentioned, one of the biggest things, I know we touched it briefly, and I know the local newspaper did a really good article on it, talking about the debris removal.
Yeah.
In the times of an emergency, they will declare these emergency things where you get in these streams and creeks.
Right.
Which they did after we were complaining about the process, because it's a hard time. It takes a long time to get a permit, and they always look at it, how are you going to influence the aqua life or the trout or the salmon, whatever it may be. Yeah. But my goodness, especially after touring the sites with Tim Marshall, going in and look at these creeks and streams and rivers, the amount of debris was ungodly. Literally like tree logs up abutting against the bridges, and that's what happened. They get caught on the bridges and
make a natural dam essentially,
or a culvert. Yeah, it's like a natural dam, and that's why it happens. So we have to allow our local agencies, our local governments, our local people, even homeowners, to be able to get in the stream, in rivers and creeks, to do stuff around their properties and be a collaboration. We need to focus on the people before we focus on the salamander. There's a process.
And you want, people say, well, you're exaggerating. We're not exaggerating. No, it's almost absurd when you ever hear the excuse that it's some type of mussel. Well, mussels are going to be here long after we're gone, and we're here long before we're here.
And I will say too, when we were driving around, I was driving with Tim because there's a state, they're in there with their equipment going through the river and stream, full blown. But why do we have to go over or jump over bridges and just to do it?
I know.
And I know certainly Jeff Parker from Stu Benz Soil and Water does a fantastic job dealing with permits and helping to get into these creeks and doing stream bank stabilization and helping with flooding issues. And his hands are tied so often. But, with this emergency, this helps a little bit. But we need a better long-term solution. We need a partnership and a collaboration with the DEC. We can't say, no, you can't do this. Because if we can't get this debris out, and if we can't have a process in doing mitigation, stream bank stabilization, because, stream banks were, decimated. The debris is still in there. There was debris in there still from the flood 3 years ago. So we need to get in there. Otherwise, you're going to have this is going to repeat itself over and over again. I don't know whether the thing is like a dog chasing his tail. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. That's what we're doing. We can't have this happen again.
At cost of lives, livelihoods, taxpayer dollars over and over again, and just because they want to look the other way?
Right. I mean, the DEC is quick to say climate change, but this all happened with climate change, but they're not helpful on their end at all to help with things at all.
All right, we got a comment from a viewer. Before we go to break, because we're going to take a break, and I'm going to ask you about the DNC, because I know you watched it patiently every day. Couldn't wait. But here's a comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank, and good morning to Phil, and thank you for your efforts for the people, Phil. Isn't that nice? All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Enjoy a taste of Finger Lakes at Hector Hideaway.
With a lunch and dinner menu, we serve a variety of delicious dishes made with locally sourced ingredients. Dine inside or out on the deck for gorgeous lake views and pair your meal with a local wine, beer, or beverage. We're open until 9 p.m. Thursday through Monday, but the bar is open until midnight Fridays and Saturdays. Stay tuned for live music. Visit us today at Hector Hideaway.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere to fix that? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast, so strong, and so convenient. It's like putting the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires of your car on a single charge, or inflate a bag full of soccer balls at practice. Bullseye Pro is so advanced, it has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Plus, it can be 100% hands-free. You simply set the target pressure and walk away, keeping you out of harm's way. Bullseye Pro is lightweight, durable, and powerful enough to inflate this massive monster truck tire. Plus, it has 4 ultra-bright LED lights to safely inflate at night. Bullseye Pro comes with 3 custom air nozzles on board, so you can easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Forget driving to the gas station. Bullseye Pro is your anywhere, anytime inflation station. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system, all for the factory direct price of just $79.99. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. But to really inflate this offer, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. You get it all. An incredible value for one low price. Call or go online to order now.
To order, call 1-800-974-9753 or go to getbullseyepro.com. So call 1-800-974-9753. That's 1-800-974-9753 or order online at getbullseyepro.com. Order now.
And we are back broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. This is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program because we're being joined by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Phil, yesterday we had on, I think it was yesterday, doesn't matter, Don Berlew from Watkins Glen International. Do you know, speaking of the flooding, they're offering discounts for NYSEG employees. I thought that was a great idea because they've been very important this whole summer, it seems like.
Yes, I mean, that's just another reminder. I mean, what a team collaborative approach. People, this community, whether businesses, individuals, families looking out for each other. And so I just want to give another big shout out and thank you to all the agencies, organizations, the employees, the volunteers that helped look out for your neighbors and were there to provide assistance to each other. Again, I keep going back to the picture I saw of the farmers providing all that.
That was so nice.
I mean, it's just, that's the type of community we live in. And that's the resiliency of this community. We're going to bounce back. We always do. but it's going to take some time. And this collaboration, this partnership. So it's great that WGI is doing that and recognizing what our NYSEG employees and others. And so this is just, we have to say thank you to all of you. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Now we've got to talk about, we were from DEC to DNC.
Oh my Lord.
That was corny. So have you been watching? What do you think? We've had correspondents on the ground practically writing in every day, Ken and others, about what they saw. We had our governor give arguably the biggest speech of her life.
Yeah, I heard it. I'll be honest, I didn't watch much. I saw some clips because I like to look at the commentary afterward. I will say, when you said Ken said about washing up, I've used that reference coming back from Albany. I said, because the way some of the policies, I kind of references to people like, when I'm driving back from Albany, the further away from Albany I get, the closer to home I get, the cleaner I feel.
I'm sure.
So I can recognize where, Ken was
coming from. Absolutely.
But yeah, so I didn't watch. I mean, we know some of the policies that she's tied to, that she's been advocating. I want to see her do interviews. I want to see her answer questions from the press about her policies.
Do you
about
realize
her
right now,
borders are responsible?
As of right this second, you've given more interviews with the media than the presidential nominee for the Democrat Party.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Right? I mean, the fact that the media allows this, as a member of the media, you get paid to do a job of interviewing people, the people in power, and the media seems fine with it.
It's like, I mean, you go to those other media, like whether it's CNN, MS, they're like all giddy. They're like, they protect her.
Yeah.
Just like they protected Joe Biden for the past 3 years. They were an accomplice to
the biggest cover-up in history.
Of his, if they didn't have that debate, this wouldn't have happened. And Kamala Harris was a partner to this conspiracy and cover up on this as well. It's terrible. But we know about the impact of her policies on inflation, tax policies, and price control policies that she's advocating. We know the impact of her criminal justice policies. We know the impact of the bail reform policies around this country that she supported and advocated for. Donate to this to release these people who are burning down the cities after the George Floyd. I mean, it's terrible. And we certainly know the immigration and border crisis that we're having, and the sanctuary city and state issue that we're going on. And what I've said about this, really, I spoke about this. I was at a recent function, and what we're seeing is really a merger of bad and dangerous policies from Washington, D.C. and Albany.
Yes.
Democrats.
That's what
I don't want to say all. I don't want to say all Democrats, because when you talk to common sense Democrats, even some around here, obviously, when you talk about immigration, they want the border secure. When you talk about bail reform, they want dangerous people to be in prison. So you're having this perfect merger of a devastating merger, but it's like a perfect storm.
Yes.
Of the immigration policy, the border policy, the bail reform, and I'll give you a perfect example to go full circle. There was a Venezuelan illegal immigrant who crossed the border, was talked to by ICE or whoever, and released. Said, come back in future. This individual went to New York, committed a crime in New York, because the bail reform.
There was no repercussion.
There was no repercussion. They let the person go. They should have, and because New York City is a sanctuary city, and basically New York State is a sanctuary state because Governor Cuomo did an executive order saying that local law enforcement can't cooperate with federal ICE officials relative to illegal immigrants and crimes they commit, which is ridiculous. If an illegal immigrant commits a crime, they should be going back and being deported right away.
Instantly.
So this person, this Venezuelan individual, got released, came to New York, committed a crime, got released, went back to Georgia, and killed 20-year-old Laken Riley.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
This is the policy of this administration.
This is the policy of this administration. This is what Kamala Harris, our borders was in charge of. This happened under her watch, under Joe Biden's watch, and they own this. You see stories about illegal immigrants raping 12-year-old kids or attacking them.
Read the New York Post.
It's everywhere. It's happening time and time again. I mean, I know everyone criticized Donald Trump in 2016 when he said, these bad people, they said he painted a brush. We're not talking about, we're talking about these people that are committing crimes that are getting released from prison. It's documented. And now here
the
these
crimes
people
are documented.
Yes, and it's just mind-blowing to me how this can just go on and on again in this immigration policy. Now you see individuals with terrorist links being caught,
Yes.
who were released,
Isn't
and then
that
they had to go back
terrifying?
out and chase them. They don't know where these people, and we're talking about some 10, 12, 15, 20 million illegal immigrants, because they don't know. They can't account for the getaways.
No.
Just the people they've documented. And this is taking its toll on communities. It's obviously it's costing New York City. It's costing other communities around the country, but it's public safety. It's the economy. They're getting money
In New
to
York
live.
City, they're getting, what is it? They get like a debit card, like $500 a month or something, just for.
I mean, that's taxpayer money.
Yeah.
I mean, we just gave away.
It's not free.
Well, they gave away, as part of the budget,
Yeah.
$2.4 billion to help illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
On top of the $1.9 billion from before.
Yeah.
Over $4 billion, but yet we have to beg and say help these flood victims who are citizens.
Yeah.
What is going on with this state? What is going on with this country?
And that's why it's appropriate the Hochul spoke at the DNC. When you think about it,
Yeah.
they're the same similar failed
Oh, yeah.
policies.
They are, and it's ridiculous. I mean, so I'm glad she came here. She had promises. She made tremendous promises. It's easy to sit here and do a press conference and make promises.
That's what's so
delivering
frustrating.
on it. And the pushback, and with social media, came back quick. So she made adjustments, but not far enough. And we should be providing assistance to business. I know we're going back to that, but
Yeah.
that's the policies that we've seen. And I don't want to paint all Democrats with one broad brush, but the Democratic leadership in Washington, D.C. that are making decisions, the Democratic leadership in Albany that are making decisions, one-party rule, is creating these crime policies that basically tip the scales of justice in favor of criminals over public safety, over crime victims and their families, and certainly over our law enforcement. You see the people getting our law enforcement in jeopardy. You see our corrections officers inside our correctional facilities being attacked. The issue with fentanyl up in Collins Correctional Facility. People, were exposed that could have died. And they're getting assaulted and attacked on a daily basis, and because they can't isolate and segregate the most dangerous and violent inmates from the rest of the general population. Not only just keeping themselves safe, but keeping other inmates safe that are trying to just do their time. You have these very violent, so it's these criminal justice policies over and over again, but their answer is to close down prisons, and one of the reasons they were closing down is because they said there's staff shortages. But we have staff shortages in our nursing homes and our hospitals. The answer is not to close down nursing homes and hospitals. You provide recruitment bonuses, you provide retention bonuses, you provide better pay and benefits. That's what we need to do if we want to bring more people into our corrections profession, and it is a profession.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the public has no idea. They drive by Elmira Correctional Facility and see that prison up on the hill. They don't want to know what's going on in there. They don't know how bad it is in there. They just want the people in there to stay behind bars. But of course, this administration, just like the previous administration, is enacting policies to help them get out of prison earlier through parole reform. We see cop killers being released in parole. So whether it's bail reform, raise the age, parole reform, all these issues, they want elder parole, which would basically allow someone who's 55 and served 15 years of their sentence to be able to come up for parole after those 15 years. So, God forbid you committed murder, brutally murdered and raped a child, and were sentenced 30 years to life in prison. If you're 40, when you're 40, you don't have to serve 15 years and then be up for parole. And the advocates say, well, that doesn't mean they're going to get out. But what you do is you put those families through that horror every 2 years, because that's the maximum time between parole hearings. The Roby family went through that time and time again and had to relive that tragedy over and over again. And then ultimately, the murderer was released. I mean, what is going on with our parole board? I mean, we have someone on the parole board who was actually has actually married to a convicted murderer. So they got that perspective. But when we had legislation to allow crime victims and law enforcement on the parole board, the one-party control and Democrats in the Assembly rejected that.
Yeah, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
It's the Chevrolet Summer Drive Sales Event at Blaze Alexander Chevrolet Buick GMC of Mansfield. The brand new Traverse is here. We have 5 in stock and they're ready to roll. Plus, we have the all-new Equinox EV on the lot. We're offering discounts and rebates as much as $11,000 on new Silverado 1500s and up to $6,000 on Silverado 2500 and 3500s. Get rates as low as 1.9% on much of the new Chevy lineup. Stop and shop or check us out at BlazeChevyMansfield.com, because we're taking the deals the other guys won't.
How many have you tried To clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success. What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes, spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, mildew, mold, and more. Take it in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud, or outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. Get your Ruby Horsepower with 4 additional attachments, all for just $39.99. Great news! They're in stock and ready to ship. Due to high demand, only 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-2344. That's 1-800-980-2344, or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-2344 now.
Talking about
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. This is the Stu Ben Senior Services Fund section of our program. And Phil, we were talking about the DNC, and I know, let's face it, that's a lot of fun to watch, right? The Trump, Harris, and what's going on. But there are so many important races locally, too. And I don't want people, and I bring it up maybe arguably too much on the program, I don't want people to forget how important the local votes are, because they, as we've been talking about with the flooding, it affects your day-to-day life more so than even a Harris or a Trump.
Yes, and yes, obviously the presidential race is very important.
Exactly.
We need to get out and vote. But you got to go up and down the ticket and look at the impact of those.
Yes.
Elections matters. I've said this over and again. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote and you don't participate, that's problematic. And,
Yes.
and basically you reap what you sow. So we need our people to get out there and vote. I mean, I can go down, the ballot line. I mean, certainly at the U.S. Senate, Mike Sapercone. I've been traveling around. I was out in Allegheny and Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County last week, honoring my colleagues Joe Giglio and Andy Goodell, and Mike Sapercone was there.
He's great. He gave us a full hour on the program and stopped in. It was nice to learn about him. He would make a great senator.
Yes.
And so many people echoed that statement when they were writing in when he was on the show.
I also mentioned Michael Henry. He's running for Attorney General against Tish James. I mean, Tish James is a terrible Attorney General. He ran against her 4 years ago. He lost, but he had 47% of the vote. He was just as close as Zeldin was. So he's out there already, which we need people out there early in some of these races to make the. He's out there. He was in Cattaraugus County. He was in Chautauqua County. He's around. He's making the rounds, and I've seen him. He was at the Scope event in Yates County Saturday. So they're out and about. So from a statewide perspective, they're important. But if I just kind of go down the line,
please do.
Certainly Nick Langworthy,
doing a great
my
job.
great friend. I've known Nick. I've told people since 2004 when I was a district director for Congressman Randy Cool. He was a district director for Tom Reynolds. And I tell people Nick was looking out for me way back then, just like he looked out for us as the state party chair, and like he's looking out for us every day as our congressman. We go to events, and a lot of people use their cameras now or video, their phones.
Yeah.
We had cameras.
Yeah.
And so there's times we go up to the Rochester area where we'd overlap, and I'd forget my camera, and he'd take pictures for me, looking out for me, send it to me, so I wouldn't get in trouble with the congressman. So, but he's doing a great job. He's been here. He's talking to people. I've seen him. He was like, when we were making the connection about the flood, he goes, I want to come down there. I got to get in touch. Who else can we get in touch with? Asking us who else we can talk to. So he was reaching out. He's engaged. He's a fighter. I've known him for a long time, and I just want y'all to know, if you haven't met Congressman Langworthy, you have a true fighter in front of him as our representative in Washington, D.C. He's fighting hard to make sure your voice is heard, and he knows how important this area is to him. This area is the one to put him over the top in his primary, and he likes to get here as much as possible. He's a great local office here in Corning. Sharon Murphy does a great job for him. I give a shout out to Sharon. I see her.
She's watching.
She's at all these events covering from him. I was with her last night at a local event, so she does a great job on the constituent service and representing him here. But they got a great team, and we work with them, and it is a team atmosphere. We work closely. Congressman Langworthy, Senator Tom O'Mara, who I'll pivot to now, and all my colleagues at the state. It's a team atmosphere, and we work together. So Nick does a great job, great team fighting and advocating for us in Washington, D.C. So count on him. And what can I say about Tom O'Mara? I've worked closely with him since we both were elected. I was elected to the Assembly in 2010. He was the Senate. We've been close. We became really close friends, but we're good close partners in government. We talk all the time about the issues that are impacting people here in our areas that we overlap. And like I said, we were talking about the flooding issue. We're on the phone, texting each other and talking. And this is not just on every issue. Whether you talk about go back to local infrastructure, our energy policy, we talk about it all the time. So he's doing a great job. And I tell Tom's the ranker on the Senate Finance Committee, so he has to sit through tens of hours of budget hearings, and he does a tremendous job. He does a great column every week. I wish I did columns like he did, and I could do a better job. But he touches on the issues that people care about. So I tell you, there's really no stronger fighter in Albany than Tom O'Mara. So he's a good friend. But for the listeners, the viewers out there, you have a great advocate as our state senator in Tom O'Mara.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that you were at Giglio's at a retirement.
Yeah,
I heard it was a blast.
Yeah, it was a nice time. Joe Giglio, I can't say no. I met Joe when I was a staffer for Randy Cool when he was elected in 2005. He, good guy. I got to know him. Then I was away when I was working for Senator Winter for a while. When I went to Albany, he came right up to me and took me under his wing. He became my mentor up there. He looked out for me. And I tell people, it was just my mentor. He was my big brother.
Yeah.
And I tell Joe Sempolinski, because I know who's running for a seat, which I'll talk about Joe in a minute. Nothing against Joe, but I didn't want Joe Giglio to leave.
Yeah.
Because I felt better with him there. He was someone I could trust and confide in, who was helpful to me. Just a great guy, a decorated career in service, both at the local level in law enforcement and in the assembly. He's really had the respect. He's like, really, I would say he's the heart and soul of our conference. Didn't debate a lot, but when he spoke, you knew.
Oh, yeah.
And he had the respect of people on both sides of the aisle. He will be greatly missed.
Hey, we're going to miss Burns.
Yes, and Marge Burns. What a great friend she became for me, and we talked all the time. She knew. She was always so kind with me. She knew when she walked in, she had my hometown of Hornell.
Yeah.
And I go, Marge, I'm going to come around here a little bit. She goes, no, you come anytime you want. And it was great. And I'm sad to see her. She became such immediately a strong voice, strong advocate on behalf of common sense, conservative issues. And she's just a strong. I'm going to miss her. She's a great friend. I wish her the very best. She deserves this. Her and Joe both don't just deserve it; they've earned it.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm going to miss both of them. But we have good people out there right now. Joe Sempolinski, of course. The viewers see Joe, our former congressman.
Yeah.
And we,
the weirdest trajectory in history.
Yes, but
just all over the place.
I knew when he made that train. I said we don't give Joe Sempolinski enough credit because he stepped in when no one else wanted to just do a 4-month term. He goes, I would do it. We need to do it because we need to have a voice in Washington over those 4 months.
He didn't just sit there in a seat.
No, he didn't. He made significant impact, had laws passed. That's the type of guy Joe is.
For him. I didn't want him to work that hard. I wanted him to take it easy.
Yeah, but that's the type of guy Joe Sempolinski is. I mean, and I'm just excited to have him. He's got a race. We got to get out and vote. And he has the southwestern part of this, Canisteo, Hartsville, Jasper, Tusker, Greenwood, and West and Union.
Yeah.
So I was, and then the northern part where Marge happened, she has Dansville, Cohocton, Whalen, Prattsburg, and now she has with the new election. I have them till the end of the year, Avoca and Wheeler.
Okay.
And I picked up Hornell, which of course I
You're
wanted,
excited
and
about
Hornell. So yeah, I'm a little excited. But the fact of the matter is, Steuben County has 3 members of the assembly. And I say Hornell still has 3 advocates for the Cohocton, Whalen. We all work together. We're all going to advocate for them. So I've had all of Steuben County when I first came in the first 2 years, and I got split up. So you represent part of the county, you represent the whole county. Yes. So I say the same thing with Seneca County that I represent, and in Chemung County, which I represent. I have parts of those counties. We work together with our colleagues there, and then I also represent all of Yates and Schuyler County. So Joe's going to do a great job. And Andrea Valley, she's doing a great job. She's our Livingston County clerk, well known, well respected, well liked. She's out there busting the trail, and she's going to do a great job. She's going to be a great addition to the New York State Assembly. I'm looking forward to having her with us as well.
And then we even have, we talked to Joe about this last time because this is relatively new on our radars, which is the Steuben County judge race.
Yes.
Because with a retirement, without getting into all the wonkiness of politics, many people were caught off guard not knowing what was going on. So we have a race there that's going to be a contested race.
Yes, it is. I mean, this is the first time really. I mean, we've had primaries. This is going to be a Democrat versus Republican. And regardless of the DRR, I just want to talk about Matt McCarthy. He happens to be the Republican candidate. Yeah. He's a friend of mine. I'm not going to hide that. No. But I've known Matt for over 20 years. He was a graduate of St. Bonaventure just like I was. Yeah. Matt is a worker. Matt gets it. He's a doer. And he understands the system. He's a judge. He was elected Corning City judge back, I think it was 2013, 2014. 2013 because it was a 10-year term. Yeah. And he was supposed to run for that, and then this all happened. So now he's running for the Steuben County and Family Court judge. He's been doing the job already. He's already acting. He understands the law. He understands it. In these races, when we talk about our judges, these judicial races are just as important.
They are.
We need people. We see what's happening with, like, in Albany with the Court of Appeals and these judicial cases that just basically sides with the Democrat. We need people on the bench that understand and respect the Constitution and will interpret the law, not try to make law from the bench. Matt McCarthy is the type of judge we want and need here in Steuben County. He gets it. He understands. He will interpret the law. He will follow the Constitution and make sure our Constitution, rights, and freedoms, things that come before us in the court, he will follow. And he's dedicated and committed. And I just want you to know you will not go wrong with Matt McCarthy as our next Steuben County and Family Court judge. He's a good guy and will work really, really hard for us.
Phil, it's hard to believe we are out of time. So what I want to say is, can we have you on soon to talk about energy? Because that's my fault. I talked about everything else, but we got to talk about energy policy, okay?
Yes, there's a lot to talk about that.
And I'll keep you updated on that. And as I said, we'll have both of the candidates for judge in Steuben County on the program soon. Thank you to all of our guests, of course, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano and Ellis Williams and Heather Haskin from Elmira the Little Theater, who was on earlier. Have a great weekend, everyone. Best of luck for everybody who's playing in the Sheriff's Golf Tournament today. Have fun. And we'll be back Monday morning with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I look forward to it already.